What's up, everybody? My name is Essex, and today I have another broken bird build for you. And the reason I have another one is because I thought that they weren't going to get any stronger than Bloomburrow, but in Final Fantasy, the Chocobos actually have taken over Bird Tribal, and their commander looks incredible. Choco, Seeker of Paradise reads, whenever one or more birds you control attack, look at that many cards from the top of your library and put one of them into your hand, which really means that you can find whatever's on the top of your library that you kind of want to cast, basically just looking at the top of your library, and you may put one of them into your hand. So you basically get to have like a little mini tutor. Put any number of land cards from among them into the battlefield tapped, and put the rest into the graveyard. And then it has Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, put a +1/+0 on Choco until the end of turn. Now, let me talk about how insane birds can get. I want to talk about all the tokens that you can get out from birds, because the more birds you have attacking, the more chances you have to not only find a good card from your deck, but also have a bunch of lands tapped and put onto the battlefield. So the first bird I recommend is honestly any of the Chocobos. Now, the Chocobos, the reason I say any of the Chocobos is because they all seem like they work really well with Choco itself. The one that I kind of want is Traveling Chocobo, but it seems like it's going to be a little pricey. But I mean, any of these Chocobos are really good. If you get any of them, they seem like they're going to be a good add. Next, we have Murmuration. Murmuration is actually really good with birds, not only just bird tokens. Birds you control get +1 and have vigilance. It will not tap them, and you basically get to attack and then not have any repercussion on tapping. At the beginning of your end step, for each spell that you've cast this turn, create a 1/2 bird creature token named Stormcrow. Now, the reason that is so incredible for this deck is because birds have a very small mana cost. A lot of them are like 1. So like Gilded Goose, Birds of Paradise, all of those, a lot of birds have a 1 cost cast for them. So you could cast a bunch of birds off like out of your hand immediately per turn, and then you get a bunch of bird tokens at the end step. That means the next turn you could be swinging in with a bunch of bird tokens to replace all the spells that you cast, so you don't actually have to swing with your good birds. Next, we have Twanos, the Toymaker, and he reads, whenever you cast a beast or bird creature spell, you may copy it except it's a artifact in addition to its other types. So I actually really like this commander. I just don't really like Twanos that much. I'm gonna be honest. I think he's kind of cool, but a cool artifact commander. You're gonna get artifact birds. And next we have Skycat Sovereign. So now the reason I put Skycat Sovereign on here is 2 and then a blue and a white, and you create a 1 cat bird token, and it gets +1 for each other creature you control with flying, which birds are really good with flying. But the 4 cost for a 1/1 bird, you know, you're gonna run out of gas at some point, I believe, in this deck, and having stuff like this to just pop out birds without actually, you know, utilizing your lands instead of playing things from your hand is really good for this deck. And then we have my boy Castrol the Windcrested. Now, the reason I love Castrol is because 1, he's an insane beatdown commander. 2, I mean, the art's sick. And 3, he puts 1/1 counters on birds. You get to bring back old birds that were in the graveyard, or you get to draw a card. A lot of things that are just really important for birds in general, because birds are kind of small. I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes they're kind of small, but you know, sometimes you get stuff like Castrol that really buffs them up. And now we've talked about like some of the best birds in this deck. Let's talk about the land. Let's talk about the extra land that should be coming out. Beanstalk Giant is a sorcery adventure. Search your library for a basic land card and put it into the battlefield and then shuffle. And then on his creature side, Beanstalk Giant's power is equal to the number of lands that you control. So, you know, with the Chocobos, you're gonna have a lot of lands. Dropping stuff like this is gonna be really good. Dance of Tumbleweeds kind of does the same thing. However, it's got a couple extra abilities. It's got Spree, which if you pay the extra 1, you get to search for a desert card and put it into the battlefield, or a land card. And then if you pay the 3 extra, you get an X green elemental creature token, where X is equal to the amount of control. So you get a token out of it. It's a sorcery, and you get the ramp. So it's kind of doing the exact same thing as Beanstalk Giant. It's actually a little worse than Beanstalk Giant in my opinion, but where it's a sorcery, you kind of get a second giant. Next, I have Termaggoyf Nest, and I actually don't just have Termaggoyf Nest. I actually have Squirrel Nest and basically a lot of different nests. Now, the reason I have Nest is because while your lands are at some point just going to be sitting there, because I'm going to be honest, this deck seems like it's going to run out of gas at some point. It shouldn't. It's giving you a lot of different options to go down because of the birds wanting to draw things and for you getting stuff out of your library. But any of the nests are going to passively give you creatures like Termaggoyfs. And Termaggoyf Nest is, you tap it, you tap a land. You know, some of these lands you're not going to use. you know, one quick tap of a land and getting a creature out to block is really scary that. And as you keep going, Termagloyf is just going to get bigger and bigger throughout the game. So at first you get a small Termagloyf, then you get a big one. Stuff like that is just going to keep pace. And then I have Malamo Marrow Sorcerer. Now the reason I have Malamo Marrow Sorcerer is because his power is equal to the amount of lands you control, and he also has trample. So this is just another trample creature with the other ability. And I also have the other one, which is the other one actually gives you double the amount of power, but it does not have trample. So I have both of these in this deck. I just want to put that out there, but these are creatures that I want to play. Next I have Kamala's Will, and that turns all of your lands into 1/1 creatures with indestructible. I think that's an awesome thing to swing out on. If you're out of options, you throw this down and you swing out killing somebody, and that would honestly be very good, especially for people who you know, lands need kind of indestructible. So like if someone is kind of removing your lands, having indestructible just in there at an instant could just screw everyone over and just protect you. If someone's removing a lot of your stuff, like your nest and stuff like that, you're going to want to basically protect them. So this card's really going to protect your creatures or protect your lands, and then make them into creatures so that you could swing out or, you know, just kind of dodge a remove. Next, let's talk about the benefits of this land, and this is what the land fell on, and that is Undergrowth Champion. And Undergrowth Champion, every time a land enters the battlefield, he gets a +1/+1 counter, and then if he's done damage, you can remove a +1/+1 counter and prevent all damage done to him this turn. So that's really good for this deck, because he's going to be dropping a ton of land. Next we have a Myria Angel, and whenever a land enters the battlefield, you create a 1 bird token. So that's just a landfall bird, so you're going to attack with Choco, and as you attack with Choco, you're going to drop a ton of birds whenever the lands hit the battlefield. Next we have Maha Betrogard Protector, has landfall, and whenever a land enters the battlefield, you get to create a 1/1 soldier token, which is really good. Tatiava is actually, both of the versions of their legendary is very good for this deck. The one that I actually recommend for this deck a little more is Steward of the Tides. Land creatures you control have flying, and whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands, up to 1 target land you control becomes a 3/3 elemental creature with haste. It is still a land, so you're gonna have literally flying land. So if you have a bunch of land and it has flying, and you drop a bunch of lands to from Choco, all of the lands that you drop after 7 is going to turn into a 3/3 with flying. So that's really good for kind of making a bunch of flying land creatures on top of just dumping flyers onto the battlefield. And last but not least, we have Sylvan Awakening, and Sylvan Awakening does the same thing as Kamala's Will, but it makes them a little bit stronger and gives them reach. Honestly, very good card. $9, not bad. Now let's hop on to the expensive birds, the bonus cards. Now these are cards that I really recommend if you have a little bit of cash, but some of them are actually not expensive. Like this first one, Seed the Land, and that gives you a snake. For each time you drop a land, you get a snake token. So for $2.57, it's really not all that bad. Wind Brisk Raptor is $6.10, but attacking creatures you control have lifelink, so all your big birds are going to heal you, and it's just going to make a more longevity throughout the game and keeping all your Chocobos alive and healthy. And last but not least, we have Nesting Dovehawk. Now, Nesting Dovehawk is $18.23, and it has flying. At the beginning of your combat this turn, populate. Whenever a creature token enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Nesting Dovehawk. Now, the reason that this is going to be really good, all the landfall is going to create you a bunch of different little tokens, and it's going to give +1/+1 counters onto Nesting Dovehawk, allowing you to populate bigger tokens as you go, like your Termagloyfs, for example. And honestly, for a bird, a 2/2 that only costs 4 and then does a bunch of stuff, I think that honestly might be worth it for 18 bucks. And if you're anything like me, I really like birds. I'm probably gonna buy that just for those alone. However, I also really like a bunch of other different things with this Final Fantasy set. However, they just recently sold out and said that they were unavailable, and that is actually insane. I don't know if by the time this video is back up, if they're going to be back up, but we'll have to see. Pre-orders are going like crazy. I don't understand what the heck's going on. So whoever's your favorite Final Fantasy character, leave them down below. My favorite is Vivi. Gonna have to be honest, it's Vivi. I already made the video over them. But I really like black mages, and if you guys enjoyed the black mage video, I will release more black. If you're interested in any of the other videos, check out this one over here, and if you're interested in subscribing, this right here. Thank you guys for watching. Happy castings.